Israel is reportedly on high alert amid concerns of aerial threats as Israeli and Arab partners, along with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, convened for a two-day historic diplomatic summit in the country. Israel has put its airspace on high alert ahead of the expected arrival of foreign ministers of UAE, Bahrain and Morocco, while the nature of the threat has not been specified. This alert comes on the heels of an Islamic State attack in northern Israel on Sunday, where 2 police officers were killed. The attack put a damper on the summit. It was attended by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Blinken sought to reassure U.S. allies over Washington's diplomacy with Iran. The aim of the meeting was to mark the shift in Arab-Israel ties that began in late 2020. The U.S. Secretary of State said that the U.S. has vital interests in the Middle East.
I made the trip here, during which I'll visit Israel, the West Bank, Morocco, Algeria, because this is a part of the world where the United States has vital interests and some of our closest friends. The United States will continue to invest in the region, strengthening the relationships that are central to stability in the Middle East and North Africa, making progress on enduring challenges, broadening opportunities for our people, and at the same time staying focused on ending the Kremlin's war of aggression.
Blinken's visit comes as some U.S. allies in the region have questioned Washington's commitment to the nuclear deal with Iran. Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid has admitted that even though there is a difference of opinion on the revival of the nuclear deal, Israel and the United States will continue to work together.
We have disagreements about a nuclear agreement and its consequences, but open and honest dialogue is part of the strength of our friendship. Israel and the United States will continue to work together to prevent a nuclear Iran. At the same time, Israel will do anything we believe is needed to stop the Iranian nuclear program.
The nuclear talks in question had been close to an agreement a few weeks ago until Russia made last-minute demands, stressing that sanctions imposed on Moscow of its invasion of Ukraine must not affect its trade with Iran. Blinken reiterated that Washington remained committed to ensuring that Iran never acquired a nuclear weapon. Today's summit will be attended by the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Morocco, who are all part of the Abraham Accords brokered by the Trump administration to normalize ties with Israel. And for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen is joining us live from Ra'anana in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Bennett has tested positive. What is the latest update?
Right, so since we spoke earlier, Eric, there have been some updates on not only the situation with COVID-19 and the Prime Minister, but also on the terror attack that we saw last night. So that was claimed by Islamic State, and it took place 3 hours drive from where the summit is taking place down in the desert in the south. Now, we know that 2 police officers were killed in that attack, and it's now been released that they were 19 years old, both of them. They were carrying out their national service in the police force. 5 people have been arrested in relation to the attack. And we've also heard that one of the terrorists' brother actually serves in the police force in Kfar Saba, which is literally a 3-minute drive from the Prime Minister's home. So some new developments there. And also in terms of Prime Minister Bennett testing positive for COVID-19, he, of course, had a number of high-profile meetings yesterday, and we've now heard that the police chief, Kobi Shabtai, has also tested positive for COVID-19. We also know that Prime Minister Bennett, of course, met with Secretary of State Blinken, but we haven't yet heard whether or not other people have also been infected. But the summit is carrying on down in the south as we're speaking. The participants are wrapping up a round-table meeting between all of the participants. They have, of course, been holding bilateral meetings as well this morning, and we're waiting now for a joint statement from the participants to the media.
Jody, the talks today will also focus on Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with Israel having taken a lead role as a mediator in the conflict. What more has Israel done to aid the Ukrainians fleeing the war?
So Secretary of State Blinken actually spoke yesterday quite at length in terms of Israel's humanitarian efforts. He talked about seeing the aid hospital that has been set up, the humanitarian hospital that Israel has actually set up within the borders of Ukraine and is being staffed by Israeli doctors and nurses. He also thanked Prime Minister Bennett for his mediation efforts. He also spoke of his hope that Israel will consider further assistance and specifically referred to military assistance, but it remains to be seen how far Israel can go while maintaining that mediation role between Ukraine and Russia. But the key focus, of course, of this summit will be on Iran and that show of unity across West Asia of the countries uniting and saying that they won't allow Iran to achieve nuclear breakout and also to contain the threat within West Asia and Iran's expansionist activities.
Jodie Cohen, thank you very much for that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.